Good evening and welcome to today's edition of the first for this week. We are going to be looking at the Anglophone crisis and asking the question why it has been lingering on for more than 4 years. Is it the fact that the mics were not on? Good evening once again. I'll start by welcoming you to Prime R, the first for the week. We are going to be looking at Anglophone crisis, asking the question why it has been lingering on for more than 4 years. Now we see the fact that we have been blaming almost everybody and missing the point where the solution should be found. We seemingly are accusing almost everybody on whatever is being done and not settling on the clear way out of the situation. That we are going to be discussing this with our panelists who are seated already in the studio with us. We are in the company of Madame Akwen Nadieh. She is the National Youth Leader for the UPC Party. We're glad to have you.
It's a pleasure me being here today. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to all the televiewers of this prestigious platform. Good evening to all the Cameroonians scattered around the continental globe. Good evening to my friend who is in Ghana, Suleiman. Good evening to all the youths in the UPC. You know, the UPC is the only party that has an ideology, if I may say. We all know the history of UPC, and most of our founding fathers, they fought for the reunification and independence we are all enjoying today. So I want to call all the youth out there who are listening. I'm the new president of the youth elected on the 21st of July 2021. It was in Bumiebel. I want us to go back memory lane because some people will be telling me, why is it that the UPC is a party meant for the Bassa people or for a certain group of people? I just want to tell the people out there listening that the GDC, as we call it, because it's the youth segment of the UPC party, it was formed in Kumba. That's the history. This youth segment of the UPC was formed in Kumba in the year 1953. So I just want to tell the whole public that the UPC is a party meant for everybody. It is not a party that is just meant for a group of people. I am the president there. I am not a Bassa. I am from Bamenda. So it's just to call out everybody who is listening to come back to the soul of our founding fathers, because UPC is the soul of Cameroon, because we gave out our blood and sweat so that Cameroonians can enjoy independence and reunification that has been sabotaged by the regime in place. But I believe that with the youths, and I am the leader, we have this redynamism that is coming up. We're going to take back what really belongs to us, because the society of Cameroon is predominated by the youth. We are more than 60%. So I believe that if I and all the Cameroonians youths rally together, we're going to put our forces together to bring down that regime that is sabotaging the works of our founding fathers. So I greet all the members of the UPC and the GDC live from Douala. Thank you.
Okay. We're also in the company of Fah Elvis Tayong. He is the Deputy Communication Secretary for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. They call him the Kangaroo Man. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Kum Leonard. Thank you very much. Special greetings to the level-headed panelists who are here present today. And greetings to all those who are watching us, especially from K-Town in Kumba, and also from Bengui. Greetings to the people of Gunoko Village, as usual, and His Royal Majesty, Dr. Fomaki Waters, and the Royal Majesties of Mbemi Village, also a Womnambuk, as well as Baba One Village. Of course, we always cut across in terms of cultural aspect, so we'll always be greeting the people of the paramount seat of Mundemba, who are equally part and parcel of us. Accept royal greetings as it goes across. But then, we think that in as much as we're moving on with politics, we always say that the priority for children to go back to school is always top on our agenda. And that's why we are greeting those who are joining us for the ACT project in Bamenda, where we are currently working out to ensure that the underprivileged children and those who cannot afford what it takes to go to school, we will be assisting them come September by getting them books and getting them some assistance in the school fees and all the like, all through the ACT project headed by Reverend Mrs. Oben. Of course, myself, the public relation officer of that organization. We have been on the ground, and I think we'll be getting back on the ground again to do more. And of course, we enjoin every stakeholder who is joining us in the ACT project to ensure that the less privileged gained their right status. That means getting back to school come September 2021.
Okay, the Kangaroo, it was fun having you guys over there in Boya. We had a great time.
Yes, we had a very great time, and I thought of talk about the ESU, the ESU, is it Caring Sisters, or how do we call it? It was quite interesting because I could enjoy what they call cultural dance from the ESU land, and the rhythms of that dance tells you that it's more of a royal dance, where the dancing style was just well calculated. I think it was quite interesting that I enjoyed culture over the weekend with you. And our good friend who also was wedding, we have not also forgotten him. And so with the wedding that we enjoyed there, I think it was quite fun over there in Boya. But then we must continue to pray that God keeps us stronger, so that we can always live together and enjoy good moments like this.
Yes, we are also in the company of Atia Tilarious, who is here with us. He's a journalist. Good evening, Tila. Welcome.
Good evening. It's a privilege to be here a day after my birthday. That was yesterday. I'm thankful for all the wishes that came in. Fah and the UPC youth president set the agenda by greeting their friends. Some other person greeted the traditional ruler. I also want to greet the son of Mancon, from Anglophone, the third of Mancon, who was enthroned in 1949. Just a year after Queen Elizabeth of Great Britain. It's a privilege for us to have him. He's still very strong, very active, and a very great traditionalist, and agriculturalist as well. I also want to throw in my voice into the Back to School campaign, that no matter what happens, the future of a generation must never be mortgaged, and that we should not wait at the eve of back to school to start calling for people to go back to school. I think that we should start now. Those who are interested in ensuring that children go to school, those who had their own education and today think that others should not have, they should have a rethink. Those who are in their villages, in communities, they should mobilize and clean the schools around them, provide security for these schools, and ensure that their children, their brothers, their sisters, and others after them should be able to have the education that they had. To say that many are those who had education almost for free, because the state provides basic education. It's compulsory constitutionally, and so nobody should be deprived of education, because if we were to go the road that South Sudan went, where 40 years after a war, people are fighting without knowing what is happening, because after 40 years they cannot read and write, they cannot even understand what has been written of their history. So they just fight because they were told they were fighting, that there was need for them to fight, and never the reason or the reason for them to fight. So we should be logical, we should be reasonable, we should provide education to our children wherever they find themselves, whether in Guneku or wherever. These children should have access to education, and they should be protected.
Okay, we also in the company of Ndifor Richard, who is going to be contributing all the way from the United States of America. Good evening, Ndifor, and welcome. Ndifor, good evening and welcome.
Hello, Leonard. Good evening. I am barely hearing you. The sound quality is not the best at all. Good evening, and good evening to the rest of the panel. Let me take the opportunity to say good evening to the entire Bamenda community, home and abroad, who are preparing for the enthronement and the celebration of the what we call the Nikwe of the fund of Bamendankwe, which will be coming up in December. Also want to say good evening to all the teachers and students in Cameroon as they prepare to go back to school come next September.
Okay, we're glad to have you on this edition of the program. I will use this opportunity to send special greetings to my brothers and sisters in Jan division out there in the southwest region of Cameroon. I will start with you, the kangaroo man. Oh, no, let me say ladies before gentlemen. Yes, let us start with you, Akwen, Nadieh. The Anglophone crisis, do you, like other people, think that we have done enough of blame gaming than seeking the actual solution to the problem?
Well, Mr. Kum, before I answer your question, I would like to, join my voice to all those that are advocates to back to school, because the UPC is a nationalist party. It is filled everywhere. So, the UPC has launched Operation Back to School for war victims in the southwest and in the northwest regions, and also in the northern parts of Cameroon that were being attacked by Boko Haram. So, I just want to add my voice because I am an advocate for social equality. So I think that going back to school is a necessity for our children. Yes, so we need to help them, those that are underprivileged especially.
Okay.
So talking about the Anglophone crisis that has lasted for, this is the 5th year, Mr. Kum, and we are still watching atrocities being committed here and there. And today we're having like something that has come, I don't know if it is a political strategy for each party to be blaming themselves, but I think it's a wrong way for us to assess this thing, because we have lost a lot of people, we have lost a lot of lives, so many people have been destabilized, and it has caused economic trouble in the whole of Cameroon. Now we see that the regime who has the sole responsibility to protect the citizens have fallen into that game, because at one point people will say, okay, the separatist fighters killed this person, because they did this, we're going to reciprocate the same way. I say no, it is very wrong, because I always say the regime, or let's just say the peacekeeping units in Cameroon, they are the only people that have the sole responsibility of exercising violence.
Okay.
When I talk about legal exercising violence, it really means that they were called to that. But now the question is, what kind of violence do they exercise? Is it protecting the citizens or killing them? That's the problem. And you see them playing some kind of ping-pong game. When something happens, they say, okay, it is the separatist fighters that committed the atrocities. Like recently, I was in one panel with a CPDM militant communicant with. We had a problem when one guy who was killed in the streets of Mankon, he was killed, and later we saw the communique that came from their chief of communication from the Ministry of Defense. His name is Colonel Aton Faxiriu. Most of the time when something happens, they always find a way of a posture to protect themselves, to see like, okay, we are right, to see like, okay, let us discredit this person in front of the eyes of the general public and all Cameroonians. To me, I think it is very wrong, because it hadn't solved any problem. We have had a lot of people who have died. We have had a lot of people that are displaced. A lot of families are no longer stable, and that is why you see we are having a lot of prostitutions in Douala. You can bet with me, Mr. Kum, when you go to the streets of Douala or other places that these IDPs are located, you see that the rate at which they give themselves to men because they just want to have shelter over their heads or food in their mouth, it's really alarming. And the government is doing nothing. And at the end, they will say, okay, it is the separatist fighters that started the violence. It is the separatist fighters that killed this person. It is this person that did this. At the end of the day, we find no solutions, and the things keep getting worse. Mr. Kum, this thing began like a joke, and today we can no longer control the things that are happening on the ground. And we see that on the both sides, they are lukewarm. Nobody wants to come to a compromise. Nobody wants to take a firm decision. Both are just trying to protect their economic gain, because, Mr. Kum, this trouble has turned to an economic gain, because there are people who benefit a whole lot, and they are feeding fat from this trouble, to the detriment of so many people like children and all that. We're having so many illiterates right now in the Anglophone zones. So many children are no longer schooled. People that were like entrepreneurs, they have lost a lot of things. So do you think that we can build a society where nobody wants to come to reason, nobody wants to compromise, nobody wants to give up? Mr. Kum, I always say, it is the stronger power that always sends a hand of extension to the weaker hand. I believed at this juncture, with the so much trouble we are having in this northwest and southwest regions, I thought that the government, who has the sole responsibility of protecting the lives and goods of all Cameroonians, was supposed to do something, not falling so cheaply to the game of blaming others. And till date, we have nothing. They have been bringing us like cosmetic things, like we have the Grand National Dialogue. We have no evidence of the works of the Grand National Dialogue. What are the fruits that this Grand National Dialogue has yielded? Nothing. We are having the DDR Center. These children, they said this is a disarmament center and reintegration center. But till date, those children are still complaining. They have nothing on ground to show us that they are ready to solve the problem that has destroyed Cameroon as a whole. Because at one point you hear the government telling us that we can move on with the 8 regions and we leave the 2 other regions. No. You cannot move forward when we believe that most of the resources in Cameroon that bring income into the pockets of Cameroon comes from these two regions. And you are the one that is still telling them they are nothing. Mr. Kum, they say it is just like a drop of water in an ocean. But I tell you, Mr. Kum, if we keep removing drops of water from that ocean, I bet you the ocean will run dry. The Anglophone crisis is something that was supposed to be like a burden to all Cameroonians. But at the end of the day, we see the lukewarm attitudes of those that are in the diaspora, those that lead the Ambazonians, or they call them separatist fighters. They are no longer into consensus. We see total confusion on both camps. Both of them, those that are in the diaspora, the military and the government, nobody is trying to come to a compromise. Nobody wants to bring solutions. At the end of the day, they end up blaming themselves, but we have no solutions. People keep dying. The economy keeps going low. And at the end of the day, we are no longer able to how do they call it? Because I heard one of their communicators telling us that we are on maîtrise de la situation, like they have a total control of the situation. Yeah. But Mr. Kum, you can bet with me that the road from Bamenda to Babaju cannot be practiced at this rainy season. When I spoke with one of their militants, he told me that it is because of the armed conflict that they were unable to arrange these roads. But at the same time, they tell us that the condition is under control. Okay. It's like an irony, Mr. Kum.
Yeah, Atia, Tilarious, we are looking at the situation you have observed for a very long time. Why do we have the impression that almost everybody sees a problem with another and not with themselves?
Well, just like the UPC representative has been saying, she sees the blame everywhere else except with where she militates. That they at their level have also not done enough to ensure that things go the way all of us want to go. And I think playing the blame game fuels more tensions, like we've seen in the Anglophone crisis, where being right becomes more important than solving the problems that have been presented on the table. From 2016, we have seen people struggling to present themselves as right, people struggling to dig out facts from 1958, from 1960, trying to present themselves as the ones who are right. And the best way to solve conflict is not to present rightness or correctness, but to confront the issues fairly, to ensure that you don't hurt the person who is opposing you, to ensure that you come to a compromise, to an environment where both of you can discuss over the issues, and when some other person sees that you presented a stronger argument, they can yield without feeling hurt. And that is what we are not having. I think at this point in Cameroon, the northwest and southwest regions, we should focus on looking for solutions. We should focus on finding the solutions to the problems we have, and not on being right. Because when somebody tells me that the DDR process to disarm, demobilize and reintegrate some of the youths has failed, that the youths, the children or the youths in those centers are still complaining, it is not absolutely true. The facts are being twisted to suit an agenda that is not proper. We all know that some of these youths are working in Camtel. They were recruited into Camtel. I think the general manager of Camtel, Mrs. Yasonde Achidachu, made it possible for some of these youths to have opportunities to work with Camtel. Many other structures have taken the bull by the horn to ensure that these youths, they have jobs. And I think that every other Cameroonian, wherever they find themselves, they should be looking at the environment around them, that these youths in these centers, if they were to be reintegrated, where can we feed them? And you make proposals to authorities, because those people who are managing these centers or the process are not all knowing. There are Cameroonians like you and me who may be limited in certain areas. And if we have seen possibilities where these young Cameroonians, I know some of them are older than me, who went into the bushes and have repented and have come back and they need to be reintegrated, we should present it to government. It's not enough to keep on condemning the process, and at the same time we are not making proposals as to how best government can handle the issue. And all of us, all Cameroonians, whether you are in government or out of government, whether you are in the population, the Talakawaks or the downtrodden, whoever, we share equal responsibility. We share the responsibility for all what is happening equally, because at some point or the other we failed to live up to the occasion. We failed to play our part the best way we should. And it is always easy to blame others. We've seen in the Anglophone crisis that when you blame others, you feel good, you demonize the other person, and the problems continue. We come on the media, we talk, people they spit fire, they insult government, they insult the authorities, they insult some professions and people whom they think have not done enough. But they fail to present the solutions, and the next day we still live the same problems. The Anglophone crisis has been on the media since 2016, and today we are still on square one. We are giving the same complaints. I think for me, we can spend our entire life blaming. We are 5 years already with the blame game, but the world is not going to stand still for us. And the success or the failures of the entire Anglophone crisis, whether it succeeds or it fails, it is for us as Cameroonians to determine. And at this point, it is for us to present solutions to government. If the major national dialogue held, if everybody was part of it, I'm sure we would have had more fruits than we've had at this point, because Cameroon has perennial problems of bad roads. It will not be the national dialogue to address those problems. It is for you and I to present our own solutions, possible solutions to government. If children are not going to school in your locality, it is not the burdensome responsibility of government alone for children to go to school, because if government says they've secured schools, they will provide books for free and everything, and you keep your child at home, then the government will not have solved the problem. Okay. So it's important for all of us to stop blaming and start providing solutions to the problems.
Okay. Now, the kangaroo man, there is often this observation also that almost everything is blamed on the government. Don't you think that other spheres of our society also have some responsibilities to seeking lasting peace to what we are all living in Cameroon today, especially in the southwest and northwest regions?
Well, I think that it would be good that we call a spade a spade.
Okay.
I understand that sometimes it looks like we come on platform and we speak water in our mouth, as if we don't understand the realities on the ground. I got my good friend Atia talking about, GDR is not like the government is not doing something. It's like Director General Camtel has recruited this and that. Those are all bullshits, man. When I say that we come on air to blow grammar for the government, these are the kind of things we get here. And these are the kind of scenarios that will keep us in this war for the next 50 years. Because human beings, educated, come on air and they refuse to address issues as they are. For one reason or the other, or whether they are feeding fat from the system, is not my own cup of tea. I could tell you, like somebody who feels the pinch, somebody who's constantly in the affected areas on regular basis. I feel the pinch of it. A man was shot and dropped in front of me at rendezvous. I missed bullets at my 90. The Americans have gone through that. People who blow this grammar, they tell you, it's just to tell you that they are far-fetched from the realities. Mr. Leo, the main issue here is not whether Camtel Director General is recruiting people or not. That's not the business here. The business is there a problem? Yes. If you go to Somalia, you go to Liberia, and you go to Sierra Leone, before their wars came to an end, people were identified as those who caused that problem. If you go to Rwanda, even the mayor of Kigali himself, the government officials were dragged to come and answer their questions. I see it as if it looks like we want to cover crimes. No, let's move ahead. You cannot move ahead in some way, Mr. Liu, without finding out the things that caused that problem. If not, the problems will reoccur over and over. If persons supported the government and bad governance was put in place, we must say bad governance was put in place. When I hear my good friend Atia tells us, no, we have to put our own effort, which effort, Mr. Liu? The government has a knife and a yam to end this crisis. If anybody gets on one day, Mr. Liu, and say that because you are preaching here for peace to come,
Kangaroo man,
it is, yes, Mr. Liu.
You are talking here, this is your effort now.
It's my effort, Mr. Liu.
So, everybody has an effort.
It's my effort.
Like you are doing now.
Mr. Liu, my effort I am putting now, with that of Akwen and with that of Atia, is very minimal. If the government gets us from sleep today, Mr. Liu, if the government, Yaoundé regime here very well, if you get on one morning with a presidential decree that today these are the steps we're ending this, and of course the government is more intelligent than me. I have said they know what is called conflict resolution. If Atia and his cohorts in Yaoundé decide this war is ending tomorrow, they are not two things. Because they know that they will not go and take some psychophants in the name of ex-fighters and then put them in Camtel and start blowing the whole grammar every day that this army has done this, has done that. No, Mr. Leo. Why is it that with all these things that Atia is mentioning, war is still raging on? I will tell you that from the northwest region, 5% are killed on an average of every day. 5%. You know what it means? By 30 days, you can imagine what we're getting. Then imagine if it goes off for another 1 year. So these are realities. I think that, Mr. Leo, the main issue we should be able to address. Yaoundé cannot expect me to come and solve the problem. Who am I? Mr. Lee, I see some Seco fans go on air sometimes in other media organs, and they say, no, drop your arms, drop your hands. You didn't give the guns to the people to hold. If you want the people to drop their arms, go to those who gave them the guns. Go to those who are giving them money by sponsoring war draft. Those are the people who stand a better chance to tell people that, okay, hold on, we want to discuss something, that, this and that. But I'm surprised that we come here. There is no way, Mr. Lee, we cannot put a blame game. Government is responsible for this crisis. Me and you, Akwen and Atia, we are only blowing hot air here. The day Yaoundé regime gets up, thank God the president is back. Let him sit in a 2G. Take his pen as he was signing public holiday while in Swiss. Signed the decree to the end of this war. And me and you will not label Mr. Leo. Okay. You will just see things taking the normal shape. Okay. So I think the time for global blowing is over. We are attacking the real things on the ground, which are very visible, and it is a call for concern that if we don't hold the government responsible, Mr. Leo, more lives are being lost on daily basis. Okay,
but the topic today has to do with the blaming game, and you think that the government should be squarely be blamed for what we are going through. That's what you're saying. We should blame the
government, Mr. Leo. I repeat, without water in my mouth. Government has 85% of the blame.
Okay.
85.
Okay. Ndifor, Richard, you are a teacher. You teach history. Lots and lots of blame on what we are living today has been placed on our colonial masters. Many persons think that they did not do their homework very well. If they did their job, we will not be where we are today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna. Yeah, you see, in a warring situation like what we have in Cameroon, it is difficult not to apportion blame. Of course, it is very obvious that there's going to be finger pointing here and there. People are going to blame each other. And of course, like you said, history has an important role to play when it comes to the to this very conflict we are talking about. And we know that a lot of people seem to blame Britain for doing a premature job of not properly preparing the territory of southern Cameroon towards self-government as was required by the UN, by the trusteeship agreement of the United Nations Organization. Also, there's a lot of blame on the part of the United Nations Organization for failing to take its responsibility to ensure that southern Cameroon properly get into independence. But we are not here, we are not talking about that now. We are talking about the current crisis as we see it. We are talking about the actors on the ground, the people who are engaged in the war. And the other speakers have elaborated well on the fact that the different protagonists have a share of the blame. We know that it is obvious that the government of Cameroon takes a huge chunk of the blame, but that doesn't also cancel the fact that the other party, the separatists, are not helping matters at all when it comes to finding solution to this problem. And I'll try to quote a few examples. You see, when Cardinal Tumi came up with the plan, which I always refer to, of Southern Cameroonians, because we like somebody said, the Anglophones have different heads. There are several different heads, and it becomes even very difficult, in as much as we can blame the government for not finding a lasting solution to the problem. A lot of people will argue that if the government wants to find solution to this problem, they should go after the separatist fighters, the leaders of those groups, and that they are the real people they have to target. It is true, they are the real people they have to target to end the war now, but I wonder if that is just the only people we have to meet if we have to find sustainable solution to the problem. Because if we have several other Anglophones having different grievances, and we focus on just one group, we will only be nursing a problem that will eventually come up tomorrow. So therefore, there was a need for the All Anglophone Conference that was called by Cardinal Tumi, which unfortunately was rejected both by the separatists and the government, who are both, in my opinion, to be blamed for us to have this conflict drag on to this moment, to this point where we are. And it is not helping anybody at all. The only people who are suffering here are the innocent civilians on the ground who have been caught by caught in between. We have thousands of Cameroonians who are in Nigeria as refugees. We have thousands of people who fled their homes and they are living in towns in Douala and Yaoundé. Hundreds of thousands of children who have not been able to go back to school. And none of this party seem to be bothered about all of these people who are suffering. Both of them are only interested in pointing accusing fingers on each other. And I don't think that is helpful at this point. What we should be looking at is finding a concrete solution. A lot of bodies, national and international bodies, have recommended that a lasting solution to this problem can only be found through a meaningful dialogue. A dialogue, genuine dialogue, that is open to all parties and open to all topics to be discussed. But what we see on the ground is that the government will say that they already have called a so-called dialogue, which of course wasn't a dialogue. They say a lot of people call it was a monologue, and which of course it was, because it was an agenda that was framed by the government, and the government presented the agenda in its own way, chose the kind of people they want to attend the conference, and discuss with those people. And so we cannot really say that that was a dialogue. And so if the government keep insisting that they already have a dialogue, they are not helping the situation. And on the side of the separatists will not give room for a meaningful dialogue. They keep insisting that for any dialogue to hold, it must hold on their terms. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You don't set your own terms and you insist that it must work on your terms. Then we'll be going back to have the same scenario that we had with the government setting its own terms and holding what it called a national dialogue. So both parties have a responsibility to be open, to be able to give away some of their demands, and be able to be softer and open to negotiation that will lead to a real dialogue. And in doing so, they should put the interest of the general masses before any other interest. And the general masses here are the common, ordinary people who are the people who are suffering on the ground. The thousands of people who are in Nigeria who want to eventually come back home and be in their homes. The thousands and hundreds of people who have left their homes and they are living outside their own homes, they have been displaced. The millions of children, hundreds of children who have not gone to school because of all of this. These are the real people whose concerns should be put in place. But unfortunately, it looks like self-interest, greed, power-mongering is taking over central stage when it comes to coming to a decision to hold dialogue.
Okay, Ndifor, we'll move back to you, Akwen. We are looking at where blames have been thrown. We was talking about the colonial past of Cameroon and these two regions, but many persons also have been blaming the West for not doing enough to see into either this conflict is ended within the 4 past years. Should we really hold the West? Can they effectively push for an end to the war that is raging on?
Mr. Kum, I don't agree with that because, we don't intend to have foreigners to come and solve our problems for us. Cameroonians know what is disturbing them. We know where we have worn the shoes and it's pinching us on our feet. So I think that it is for Cameroonians to solve their problems and not an international body to come and solve our problems. We all know, going back through memory lane, that the Anglophones were being ruled through what we call indirect rule. And the French were using assimilation. And those are two systems of government that are not really that cannot really match. And that is why at one point we heard the president going to France and telling them that he has tried to assimilate the Anglophones and it didn't work. Now, that is not part of the problem right now, because Cameroonians have an important problem on the ground, which is the crisis we are facing now, because we cannot keep digging the old wounds because we are having so many problems on ground. I heard Mr. Atia telling us about the government has brought solutions like the DDR Center, the Grand National Dialogue. He spoke about, how they have been catered, those that dropped their arms and they came to the DDR Center. They have been given jobs. I don't really agree with that because, Mr. Kum, most of the times we abandon the cause of a problem and we start attacking the consequences. What was the cause? What made the Anglophone crisis to come to explosion? That is the problem. We are supposed to touch those parts, because all these things he has been giving us, like the DDR Center, the Peter Mafani Musonge's Bilingualism Committee, all these things are shallow. These are not what Cameroonians need. The cause of the problem was Cameroonians are being marginalized, or the Anglophones, sorry, are being marginalized at every point. That is the problem. You will not come and tell us that there was a grand national dialogue. No, that dialogue was not effective. And I even heard him telling us that if everybody could come for the dialogue, who set out the conditions for you to participate in that dialogue? The government. And still they didn't bring out favorable conditions for those that are living in the diaspora to come and take part in that dialogue. So I call that a monologue, as my co-panelist said. Looking on telling us how to come on the panel and telling people that drop your arms. No, Mr. Kum, I don't have that capacity to tell you drop your arms, because I don't have a solution to your problem. I am not the cause of your problem. The government is the cause of this problem, so they need to bring out solution. Blaming X or Y hasn't helped matters till date. We talk about, if we really had a genuine government who really wanted to see that the Anglophone crisis come to an end, why is it that up to date nothing has been spoken in the National Assembly concerning this problem? We had a communique telling us that it will be spoken, but nothing happened. Till date, we have nothing happening. And still, people are still dying. And at the end of the day, they tell us that it is the separatist fighters that are causing the problem. Mr. Kum, I am not one of those people that throw 100% blame on the government. No. The separatist fighters have their own share of the problem. Because at one point, when I look at these guys committing atrocities, giving out conditions or giving out rules or communiques that, okay, this person should be beheaded, the arm of this person should be cut. That is not the problem. That is not the solution. Because, Mr. Kum, you cannot tell me you love me, you want to fight for me, you're defending me, and at the same time, you are the one killing me. At the same time, you're denying me not to acquire education, to acquire knowledge. At the end of the day, when you come back to Cameroon and perhaps, or in our Ambazonian territory, as they call it, we gain our independence, what will I tell you were fighting about? Nothing. I will not be schooled. I will not be learned. I will not be enlightened with the things happening. So I think that both parties need to come back to what we call humanism, because we see both parties are fighting for their personal interests. They are fighting for themselves. Nobody wants to come to a compromise. This person tell you, if this is not admitted, I will not come. This person tell you, I am this. And Mr. Kum, not to really bring out, this thing, the government told us that ils sont les mandants de la paix. When we talk of mandants de la paix, we mean someone who is begging for peace. You will not tell me that the Ambazonians have a high responsibility in this. No, it is the government, because I always tell people the government has the sole responsibility to cater for the lives of every Cameroonian. And if they think that they want peace, they want this Anglophone crisis to come to an end, they would have come out to a compromise. Mr. Kum, let us forget that the Ambazonians are bringing hard conditions on their table. No, you caused the problem and you're supposed to become like a baby. Mr. Kum, when you commit a problem and you need a solution, you become like a baby, you become senseless. You accept because you want peace. That is what I would have been waiting for the government to do. Rather than playing the ping-pong game, you are, perhaps the international bodies are harboring those criminals over there. They should send them back to Cameroon. They should send them to jail. These people are the ones committing atrocities. We didn't kill this person. We didn't behead this person. At the end of the day, no solution. Okay, we are still suffering. All I need is for the causes. Why is it that the Anglophone crisis came to an explosion? That is the question. They should touch the causes and not the consequences we are facing on daily basis. That's what I think, Mr. Kum.
Okay, Mamagi, writing from Yaoundé, says, Mr. Kum, good evening. Your program is good. I love it so much. But why don't you read my text? Mamagi, I'm reading your text now. This war will not stop. I said the war will not stop until they free those in the prison. Thank you. Mamagi, good evening to you. Glad to know that you're watching us. Good evening to all the panelists. To me, I think the regime is not ready to solve the problem. If the government think that giving the job to some few individuals to stop the problem, she has failed. Okay. Litinui Parfait writing there. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Courage to you and the dynamic guys in the studio. I don't understand, Mr. Tila. Okay, it's but obvious that he has been given enough cola nuts. Ndikaka Bia is is writing from Kribi. Good evening, Mr. Leo. When we are in a situation that we find it ourselves difficult to solve it, let someone not come and provoke people. Okay? Janet is right. From Bafusam. Good evening, sir. The person who declared a war on southern Cameroon will possibly be him to dissolve the war. My greetings to the studio. I'm writing from Belo. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the members of the panel. I'm following the program with keen interest. The topic is a nice one, and the members on the panel are just hitting the hammer on the nail. More courage to you guys. Jikmu Timothy, writing from Mutengene. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm really enjoying the program sincerely. The government is responsible for everything. Where is Pan-Africanist man? Timbise Roland, writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love the program. I'm Madame Rapido, writing from Limbe. Good evening to you, Madame Rapido. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Mr. Fah Elvis is a blessing, and the suggestion is a wake-up call. Keep on, Mr. Tayong. Ngole Hene is writing from Limbe also. Oops, messages just keep flooding, difficult to read. Good evening, my boss, Mr. Kum Leonard, and to all in the studio, and a special greetings to the head of state for the wonderful work that he has been doing in the northwest and southwest for maintaining peace and stability. Mohammed is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Mohammed. Okay, Atia, Tilarious, we are talking about the blame game here. Many persons have blamed the West for not intervening. Is it possible for the West to have intervened before now, or even pressuring both sides to finding a lasting or sustainable peace in these two regions? But also, many persons have that tendency of blaming our elites.
Well, on the part of the international community, I don't know who in the international community want to intervene, who has not had their say. You know, when you must choose between two conflicting parties, then you start solving the wrong problems. We've had very tough words coming from the former Secretary of State for Africa, Tibonagi, who apparently took side at some point in the crisis, and all of us saw how it ended. Because when you take sides, you make one party feel that they are winning, and they celebrate, and the other party becomes extremely upset, and they try to do things that will cancel the happiness that the other party is feeling. And we are talking about international civil servants, people who are working for a salary. So you cannot think that the problems in your country will so much please them to the detriment of their salaries and their terms of reference. The states are the only perfect subjects in the international system. States are the only persons that can commit in the international system. And if other states do not take upon themselves to solve problems that are affecting other states, you could not expect civil servants who are working in the UN, for example, to get up one morning and say the crisis in the Anglophone region should stop. Or when somebody says that the President Biya should sign a decree, I begin to ask myself, if President Biya has addressed this crisis a couple of times in his address to the nation, I think on the 10th of September 2019, President Biya addressed the crisis. He admitted, apparently for the first time, that there was an Anglophone crisis, and he said that there was need for Cameroonians to sit and meet and discuss these issues. But when somebody says that you sign a decree saying that the crisis should end, I don't know, maybe Fah Elvis should draft that kind of decree, the content of that kind of decree, and send for appraiser. Let's see how, by the stroke of pen, all the grievances are going to collapse, all the guns are going to stop smoking and everything. I'm not sure that kind of thing exists. And we blame government, like Akwen has been talking about government failing, government this and that. But the government, in this case, we have three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. So which government are you saying has failed? Is it the legislature, where the UPC belongs? The UPC has a senator from the southwest, I think Philip Leke, and I knew him as a UPC militant until the day he was appointed. I don't know if he's still in the UPC.
I'm sorry, UPC
and
has no election. Nobody.
I'm saying that the UPC has a senator who is from the southwest. The UPC has 3 members of the National Assembly, and all these people are part of the legislative arm of government, and if they don't see it as right to present the grievances of the people in parliament, and then it becomes a problem, because we've had people like Senator Mbelamuki Charles, for example, Honorable Stanley Mukondo. We've had people like Honorable Ngala Gerard who have presented issues concerning the Anglophone crisis in parliament, in plenary. But we've not seen, they've asked questions, they've challenged members of government, they've wanted to know from the Minister of Defense, from the Minister of Public Works and others, what is being done to attend to the grievances of Anglophones. I've not seen any UPC senator or a UPC parliamentarian who has mounted a rostrum in plenary to present the grievances. So very often we shift the blame that, oh, government, and this government, people think that no, it's always CPDF. It is not true. There are three arms of government. If there's a crisis, every other arm of government should be finding solutions to these problems. Whether the CRM, we have not seen them present their own blueprint without trying to push the blame, without making it feel like some other person has not done enough and they are the ones with the saving grace. So there's need for us to stop the blame game. And I think if we come on as a people together, we stop expecting that the United Nations will come and solve problems. We stop. In Ethiopia, for 15 days there was fighting. The UN has already taken commitments. We see the international community mobilizing and going to the rescue. But we have been here for 5 years, and all what we hear is that the UN, they strongly condemn, they are strongly opposed to what is happening, and every day the things are happening. Nothing is changing. So we have to commit. As a people, we have to commit. That some people have approached the Anglophone crisis as a battle where being right equals winning. No, we must not be right. We must not be right. All of us, we share responsibility for the crisis at three levels. Those who caused the problem, those who should propose the best way in solving this problem, and also those who are going to benefit from the solutions. And all of us as Cameroonians are going to benefit from the solutions to this problem. And we should, as Cameroonians, also present our proposals to the table, look for ways. We have representatives all over. Somebody was greeting his chief traditional ruler of his village, and this traditional ruler can aggregate the interests and the grievances of the people and take to the competent authorities and they move up the ladder. We've not seen people present grievances from Guneku. We have the spokesman of the Fon here who has not been able to go down to his village and talk to his people and aggregate these grievances, because like I said, the solutions to the problems in the corner will never be the same solutions to the problems that you find in Bansor, for example, because the terrain is different, the realities are different. You construct a borehole in a community, it may be useless, but it will be beneficial for some other community. So we think that the solution to this crisis must come from the communities. We expect the people of Guneku to sit and talk to their children. That what is the problem? Where can we find solutions to this problem? And the children are going to present the grievances. I'm saying this because from 2016, the issues have evolved to the point where nobody can pin a finger that if the head of state signs today that all teachers of French extraction or French who teach in French language in Anglophone schools should be limited to teaching just the subjects that need French, like French, and that all others, maybe who are teaching mathematics to English students, should be sent to where they will better fit. It will not solve the problem immediately. Okay. Because there are other grievances that have come up.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your program is the best. Cameroon needs two dialogues to solve the problem. In the first one, with the separatist leaders for the boys to lay down their arms and change their positions from separation to federation and something else. Then the second dialogue, which will comprise all opinions concerning the form of state. Emmanuel Finjang writing a very good evening to you. This one says, good evening to you, Mr. Kum, and your panelists. I love your program. Keep it on. One day, stop calling, please. One day, God Almighty will hear our cry and come to our help, because it's not really easy with us here on ground zero. Evimom Njong writing from Fundong, that's in Boyo. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Has seen members of the Parliament SDF stood the grounds for the Anglophone crisis to be put on the table, but they were shown down. How on earth does he expect one senator to create an impact? We also what Honorable Riba did, they said, and he became wanted. Okay. Forces with Senior Pastor Collins. Okay. I don't know who is writing, but good evening to you. This one says, Mr. Liu, Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm John from Germany. It has taken 5 years for the Ambas and Amba supporters to know that the school's boycott is 100% nonsense. The solution is simple. All towns and tribes which support Ambas should stop supporting them. Okay, this one says, it is a pity that even your panelists cannot see that the government will never dialogue with any separatists. I pity the town and tribes which support Amba. Okay, I don't know where you're writing from. I am Simon. Good evening to the panelists, but more grace to the UPC and MRC members. I believe the LDPC is campaigning for the COVID bonuses. I don't know. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panelists. Okay, if Auntie Mary is writing from Kumba, says if he had ever had a pinch of this war, he would have been boiling bean on the candle. Okay, you say if Tilarious had gotten a pinch of this war. Tilarious has been in Kondengi prison for 8 months because of this war. So I'm sure he has suffered more than you can ever think. He has been in prison for 8 good months. He was released same day with Vice Agbobala. Greetings to everybody in the... Yes, Wamaline.
Of course. People approach the crisis from their own level. That's why I say that we should not approach the crisis on the basis of being right. We should approach it on the basis of looking for solutions to the problems. If we start talking about the bitterness, what we have lost, I'm not sure we can solve the problems. Because the lives we have lost, we can never bring them back. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Fah Austin. I'm writing from Sukapa Bamboo. The government have to be blamed 100% because they were the ones that declared the war. The phones are only defending themselves. Okay, if you are watching me from Bamboo, greet everybody. Everybody from Bamboo. Let me use this opportunity to also greet people. You greeted some people. You greet Mr. John, Mami Mboti. You greet Bakasi, the chainsaw operator, Mami Laughlin, everybody there. Not forgetting Augustine. Just greet everybody I know out there. Mr. Liu, good evening. And crew. I'm glad for the program of this evening. Your team for a wonderful job. I don't know what some people want in this country. Ndebi is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and greetings to your two strong panelists. I'm appreciating what Ma is saying because of these 4 years government taken her measures. These things would have stopped long before. They have the yam and the knife. I like your program. Keep on bringing to studio this type of people, especially Apostle Ambe, Mr. Kumho. It's so God will continue to protect you. And our darling studio, my Media Prime, Bar Stanley, writing from Kumba. Thank you very much, Stanley. Bar. It's difficult to read because the messages are only coming. Now, Fah Elvis Tayong, we are looking at the blame game. Are you not also worried that we blame ourselves and we have seen brothers and sisters killed because they are considered black leg? They have also seen as the problem to what people are fighting. Why should we blame ourselves to the extent of killing ourselves?
Well, I think that the blame game continues. The aspect of killing one another are just normal characteristics of a war. I'm very sorry to say that.
Okay.
During any conflict, you have crimes that come up. There is rape, there is unjust killings, and there is theft and many other things that accompany crimes of that nature. Yes, so it's very obvious, which our own case should not be normal.
Okay.
For those who have done characteristics, if you go to Uganda with a non-resistant army, they raped many women, they did many things and things like. That's why sometimes we say that it is better to prevent a war than for you to allow it to come and then start looking for ways to solve it. And it becomes worse again if you are not giving a real solution. On the contrary, you are giving a cosmetic solution. Now, if you look at the question you just asked, queuing up with what my good friend Atia here was just enumerating some few minutes ago, you realize that it looks like he's coming from the space. And we begin to ask ourselves if we have been able to sort our academic portfolios into the gutters, probably for bread and sardine. But then it becomes very worrisome when you hear somebody articulate and tells you that we could go to Gunokwa and articulate and propose and get problems of people that are on the line. Mr. Leon, CRM, before the dialogue, which we refused going, gave not less than 12-page documents on proposals on how to end the war. Point number 2, during the period of Philemon Young and the present Prime Minister, they have gone around all the 2 regions, having meetings with stakeholders and getting their worries concerning how they think this crisis can be solved. So, if you go to a 2D, you go to the glass house there, they have litanies of proposals uncountable. I'm surprised if my man here tells us we can still do our own part. Mr. Look, there is nothing any individual in this country can propose when Yaoundé is not willing. Because the regime and their psychopaths believe they are all knowing. There's no proposal now. If I tell you that we have a use now for this crisis to propose and it stops, no. But if a genuine dialogue is called upon, Akwen is part of it, Atia is part of it, you are part of it, some are part of it, it can begin to make sense. But as far as the present state is concerned, Yaoundé regime is not the least willing for the crisis to come to an end. I got Mr. Atia talking about 3 arms of government. I understand that he's more of a theoretical lecturer than a practical lecturer. Because in Cameroon, we tell you that the 3 arms of government functions, but in reality, 1 arm of government is that who supersedes all the other 2. Executive controls the judiciary and controls the legislative. And if Atia was telling me about these 3 arms of government, I was articulating so well as if we were in a lecture hall, amphitheater 700. But he forgets to understand that in the course of all of these arms of government we are mentioning, none of them, especially the legislature, has stood the test of time to take this as an agenda. I am surprised he said, Honorable Ngala, up, down, yam done, yam not done. We don't carry to classify persons because we think that they are our friends, which make people know that they are doing what the problem left undone. No, no. Must Honorable Ngala be able to stand and ask questions to the Minister of Defense? Why can it not be inserted into the program? Last time, the very Atia who tells me that we have 3 arms of government, which are all kangaroo arms of government, forgets to understand that in the last sitting, a fake program was put up, and they said they will discuss how they can reduce arms in the hands of persons in the northwest, southwest. When I look at that analysis, I was seemingly happy that it means that finally the Anglophone Crisis has come into the national, into the board houses. Unfortunately, all that grammar they put, the agenda did not surface from start to finish. I was in Ewane. I went in for the closing session of the Assembly and the Senate. It did not surface. I'm talking about somebody who was present in those houses, not that I was daydreaming. And what is it insinuating? That if you have war ongoing, and for 4 years, this crisis cannot be on the agenda of the Senate and the National Assembly, it means that Atia is blowing us grammar here for no good reason. It means that the houses is articulating, he should know those houses are smooth screens, which are teleguided, woefully, which are teleguided and in entirety by the executive. It becomes a call for concern. Of course, we know that Natumi made proposals in over 400 pages. Mr. Leo, 400 pages. Where are these proposals? When we come and sit here, we start blowing grammar. I say that the government Yaoundé regime is not willing for this crisis to come to an end. And there's no way Atia will come on air here and tell us how Yaoundé has done what Napoleon left undone. DDR has gone up, he has come down, Camtel has recruited, and yet they are still striking. And yet the DDR centers are still complaining that things are not going. So, when we say we should take the relay, I think that who are those who have the powers? Akwen does not have power to bring the crisis to an end. Nor do the CRM have. But the CPDM and the ruling party, because the CPDM is the government is the CPDM. And this CPDM executive arm are those that man the judiciary and the legislature. We should not be, there's no separation of power in this country. I'm very sorry to say that. And that's the more reason why I keep on saying that. You ask a question about the elites. Yes. The elites, just like our good friends on the panel here, are those who have contributed to where we are today. If we had genuine elites who go on air and call a spade, why will Yaoundé not sit up? Now, at the long run, Yaoundé sees some of us as terrorists. Because why the Atias will go and blow hot air and praise the regime? No, President Bola has done this, DDR has done this. They will look at Akwen and myself as terrorists because, according to them, they feel that they are more patriotic than some of us. And this is where we are, Mr. Leo. So, where we are finding ourselves, I think that we should be honest in its entirety. All those parliamentarians, even the AZF, who got up in the assembly and were blowing whistle at a point in time, they only did that in their own accord. Now, ask yourself, what was the effect? When they did all of that, was anything inserted in that program? No. Did anything change? No. It is a devilish regime, satanic, that people are dying. They sit in the National Assembly. You have 3 sittings per year. This is 5 years running. I'm sorry, I have to be harsh, Mr. Leo. Take it easy. We will not take it lightly with them because people are dying.
No. You could still have passed your message without adding the satanic, devilish.
Mr. Leo is satanic. People are dying. There's no woman who will see people dying.
Anyway,
you come from the constituency in Bamenda. You come from constituency in Oyumojo. People are dying. I see the National Assembly.
Okay.
You cannot hold National Assembly hostage. My people are dying. If you don't discuss them, the front here, no National Assembly business.
That's what
they sit quiet and fix fun and come and tell us grammar. And then our fellow panelists here are also there blowing grammar in their favor. No, it is wrong, Mr. Leo.
Okay.
The spade must call a spade a spade. Okay. The Ghana regime is a kangaroo one, and we are where we are today because of them. No matter how we try to gratify them, as our panelists here is trying to gratify for reasons best known. But opinions count, and we must call a spade a spade. Thank you.
The media prime take exceptions to describing anybody.
I take responsibilities for all my words.
We take exceptions to describe
yes.
people as satanic and devilish. Okay, I don't know if you have something to say. You have something to say? Very briefly, because he's on standby over there. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to contradict what Mr. Atia said, because he said that the UPC has elected members. We do not have any elected member. Okay, you should go check your archives. UPC has no elected member in the municipalities, legislative, or the judiciary. We are not found anywhere. And let me tell you, no. Our list during the municipalities and the legislatives were being disqualified by your CPDM members because they knew we are a threat to them.
But the guy in Boya, who was a teacher in
Leke Philip of the UPC was appointed senator.
I tell you, the legal UPC has no elected member or appointed member. I am telling you the truth. Go check your archives.
Belong to which UPC do you belong?
Of Umnyobe.
Okay. It's okay. Please. Yes, you have something?
Yes, just to add that, Mr. Leo, that we have to move from blaming to collaborating. Because we all have a role to play. When somebody says that we have no role to play, we have a role to play. On this platform, we have been calling for children to go back to school. That's a positive role we are playing. Because when people cannot read and write, it becomes difficult for them to understand the problems they are facing, to understand their society. When people cannot read and write, they cannot fend for themselves, they will become armed robbers. Even when the crisis would have ended, there will be thieves, there will be bandits. So we are saying, no, we have not even got to the consequence of the crisis. We are still with the effects. The impact of this crisis will be in the next 50 years. Where you have people who are 50 years old who cannot read and write. And that is what we are trying to mitigate. So we should stop blaming. Blaming is the easy way out. It is easier for us to point fingers. Oh, President Biya has done this, Parliament has done this, and all of that. But when we realize that we can help in improving the situation, then we would have had a solution to the problem. And when Fah keeps on shouting that the whole genuine dialogue, what do you mean by genuine? What's the need of the adjective genuine? When it's political. I'm saying that when politicians speak and say that genuine dialogue, it means nothing. Genuine means nothing. It is based on somebody's subjective interpretation. When you call for dialogue, dialogue is enough. Dialogue is understood. That is people who have differences, who are opposed to each other, they sit to iron out differences. When you start talking about genuine, inclusive, these are all escapist adjectives that are being used by diplomats to confuse the masses. Because when the former U.S. Undersecretary of State for Africa, Tibonagi, says that the U.S. is calling for inclusive dialogue, genuine dialogue, what do they mean? They should come out clearly and say that we want dialogue that looks genuine. Genuine means that it should have this, that, and all of that. It should be spelled out. We should not come out. I'm saying that there is no need to be.
Which fits squarely in conflict resolution.
We should not speak to impressionable minds out there.
If you need, I can let you know that
genuine is subjective. Everybody defines it their own way, and we cannot solve conflicts where people use words and adjectives that pulls the blankets to their own side. It will not work that way. There is need for us to find common ground.
Conflict resolution is a science that is not literature. It's either you take A or B or you don't take it. Science, my brother. It's not literature.
Please, let's get to Ndifor. Richard Ndifor. We are talking about the blame game. The cycle continues. We have seen many persons actually bash historians who present facts. Almost everybody has become a historian in Cameroon because most of the things that historians say today, they say it is doctored history. So where do we turn to get the genuine history of Cameroon?
The genuine history of Cameroon relies on the facts. It lies on the facts.
Mr. Ndifor, it appears your volume is mute.
Oh, no, it's not mute. I'm fine.
It's okay now. It's okay now.
All right. Okay.
Yes, can you go on?
I was saying that the truth in history lies in the fact. The facts are stubborn. The facts are there, and there's no way you can tell.
Yes. All right. So I was saying that the facts are the facts, and there is no way we can change the facts. The fact is not what we wish the facts to be. The facts are what they are, the way they are. The problem with us is that we try to twist the facts and try to make the facts to suit and align to our thought, to our narratives, to be what we think it's supposed to be. That is the real problem we are facing today. And that is why everybody tried to twist the fact. And you see, what happened with Foncha, and everybody keeps to be blaming Foncha, oh, Foncha did this, Foncha did that. That is because of what we call interpretation of the facts. Many people, yes, Foncha might have done some mistake. It is normal for every human being to do that. But you see people read meanings into why he did that. People say, oh, he did it because he wanted to be Prime Minister of Cameroon and all of that. And you see, there is this blame game, and they say, we are where we are because Foncha brought us where we are. Ndeli wanted to take us to Nigeria, and Foncha brought us here. And nobody wants to look at what would have happened if we went to Nigeria. What would have been the situation we were in Nigeria? Again, the situation again has gone far that people are now taking it right down to not only Foncha's immediate generation, but they're attributing it to the entire region from where Foncha came. And they said it is the Grafi people, the people from this region, who are causing all of this. And you see, that is part again of that blame game, where we try to put on a group of people, because those group of people happen to be coming from the same region from which somebody in history came from, which to me I find ludicrous. Again, we have a situation where a group of people think that it is only their viewpoint that should hold water. It is only their viewpoints that should be taken into consideration. And so if you have a contrary opinion as to how you think that the solution should be solved, you are given various names. You attacked black legs. You are called sell-out. You are given all kinds of names. Today we know that Frundi has become a persona non grata, not for anything that he did wrong, but just because he didn't align with the idea of using conflict, using violence to solve the problem. Just because he didn't align with the idea of secession, he has attacked black legs. And even some well-known personality, they fall along with this line because they seem to gain something from that. They seem to benefit from Frundi's fall. And so it has all become a situation where people they have used this conflict for several other means, to score political points, to go after their opponents, to go after their enemies. And so it has become a whole mixed up that becomes very difficult to even find the niche, find where the real problem is. And so, like I said earlier, we need to come to the table. We need to agree to bury our differences. And we try to keep away this idea of, oh, you caused it, she caused it, he caused it. We keep aside all of this and we think about the solution to this problem. We think about the consequences of the crisis, the people who have been the victims of this crisis. How do we move from here? How do we find a solution to this? Many people seem to think that the solution lies only on the government. Let me give you this example of Liberia. In Liberia, we saw that one woman, Lema, decided
when the conflict in Liberia, it was worse than what we have in Cameroon today. When the conflict in Liberia got so bad, this woman decided to gather women in her church to speak out for peace. And her movement started growing from that church group and became a whole movement that women took it upon themselves to launch this fight for peace. And they took this fight right to the doorstep of Charles Taylor. They took it right to the doorstep of the presidency of Liberia and demanded that they wanted to see peace and that they will not leave the presidency if no real solution is gotten as to how they were going to get to peace. They forced not only the president of Liberia, they forced also the non-state actors who were involved in this. They decided to launch a sex strike, where they decided they are not going to go to bed with their husbands and wives until they have a solution to this problem. We also find the same women when this group finally met and said the warring parties decided to meet and discuss. The women held the conference room where they were hostage and decided that nobody is going to leave that hall until peace has been reached. That is action from the grassroots. We should stop thinking that this action can only come from the government. We can force the hand of the government to do something. We in the grassroots, we can do something to force the government's hand into deciding on peace. We could force the separatists to come to the table. That is the power we have. But on the contrary, what do? We find the ordinary people who were supposed to champion this cause of even forcing these warring parties to come to the table. They are engaged in this main game of you did it, it is this person who caused it, and they keep dragging on. And you see the ordinary people on the ground, you hear them say, oh, is it not the government who declare war? And so what? It is the government who declared war, so we should all die because Biya declared war, right? And they say, oh, is it not you have to speak to the people who say the government cannot negotiate with terrorists. Oh yes, they cannot negotiate with terrorists, but the ordinary people keep dying. And so therefore, each one of these parties, they need to swallow their pride. They need to swallow their greed, their power hunger. They come to the table and discuss for the interest of Cameroonians. Each of them claim they are fighting for the ordinary people. If truly they are fighting for the ordinary people, they have to look at the impact that this crisis is having on the ordinary people. It is not the guys in Yaoundé who are suffering the pains. It is the ordinary man down there who is feeling the pinch of this crisis. It is the woman who cannot go to her farm to harvest her crops, to feed her children, who is facing this problem. It is not some minister in an air-conditioned office in Yaoundé who is facing the pain. When you call a lockdown, it is the ordinary woman down there who cannot go to the hospital to get treatment, or maybe go to seek a solution to her diabetic problem and all of that. It is that ordinary person down there who is feeling the pains. It is not some minister in Yaoundé. In fact, those ministers in Yaoundé do not even feel it. If they want to pass through, to drive through Mutengene and anywhere they want to go to, they will, because they have the military to guard them. The ordinary person do not have that. That is what we need to start thinking and start knowing that the impact of this crisis is way more on the ordinary people. And therefore, those who say they are fighting in the interest of the ordinary people should be willing to come to the table to find a solution in the interest of the ordinary people.
Thinks she got enough resources to sustain the war and crush the separatists. The separatists also think that they still have support from their funders and can sustain and fight on. What brings a government to a negotiation table is her inability to continue a war. No government will still enjoying budget increase. Funds from the IMF and the World Bank will dialogue with ragtag separatist fighters. When fatigue and poverty will set in, the people will stop. Okay, Suremi writing there. This one's the course keep disturbing, difficult to. Good evening. Thanks for this topic. I share the kangaroo man's opinion. The government is truly not serious. If the man, blanket of the CPDM Now it says, because people cannot be dying and they still think they have the best solution. 5 years running. Mr. Kum, tell Mr. Atia that the CPDM should liberate this country. I don't know whether he has the powers to tell that to the CPDM. He's not representing the CPDM on this platform. Mr. Mbi is writing from Douala. This one says, in Liberia, it was a national problem, but here Anglophones are affected, but Francophones do see it as their problem. To be honest, let a genuine dialogue be called. Genuine means a dialogue that will know the truth and speak the truth. Okay, good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The truth is bitter and must be spoken anywhere, at any time. Mr. Tayong Elvis, you are a reflection of the truth. Okay, the great Calvo is writing from Bomenda. Good evening to you, the great Calvo. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. I think if we term the blame game as call fuel, people should stop calling government names, because when you castigate the government and say nothing about the separatists, automatically you are giving them reasons for fighting and killing themselves over baseless allegations, and shouldn't shy from taking the responsibility of fueling the unreasonable war. Nkwain Bless is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I want to correct the lady that President appointed senator from the UPC party in Boya, a teacher by profession. Yelum John writing from Yaoundé. I know him personally. Yes, but she says he's not from their faction, so maybe he's not of the faction where she militates. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the members of the panel. I'm sure when you declare war, you should be able to know the solution. I know CDC is the most giant company in Cameroon, which became state property. After white man left, the workers are working today without knowing when payment will come. Okay, but Akwen, we are talking about this, but can we also talk about the need that persons who are seeking compromise are systematically also being targeted by some persons? Almost everybody from the onset is still camping on their spot.
Yes, Mr. Kum, we saw what happened with late Cardinal Tumi. He was like, how can I call it, a prey to both of them, the both parties, the government and the separatist fighters. Before I come to your question, there is something I want to elaborate on the speech of our brother who is in Mr. Ndifor.
Yeah.
He spoke about Liberia and all what the women did there. He spoke about women moving along the street and asking for peace to return till they march in front of the presidency. He spoke about sex strike. He spoke about withholding a session of work and demanding for peace. Mr. Kum, you cannot compare Liberia with Cameroon. In Cameroon, the government in place practice what we call dictatorship. You cannot compare a flexible government with a Cameroonian government that practices dictatorship. We saw how during the manifesto of the CRM women, they were being arrested and they were put to prison, and they were being fixed like, some kind of, they were giving judgment like they are trying to be an enemy delator. So I think that we are not supposed to compare. And besides, the Liberia problem was a national one, and in Cameroon is just a segment of the Cameroon that is demanding something from the state. So we cannot compare both countries because their own government is not the same. And secondly, I heard my co-panelist, Mr. Atia, spoke about us being responsible in our own manner. How do you tell us to be responsible when we are not the one that caused the war? You spoke about helping the government in building roads, in schools and all that. Let me tell you, yes, you spoke about what have we done? What have we done to help the government or to help end the Anglophone crisis? You spoke about roads, you spoke about schools. Let me tell you, in Cameroon, I cannot get up and start building a road. It is a taboo in Cameroon. They will ask you who gave you the authorization to build a road. So let me tell you, the Cameroon government is not a flexible one. We are living in a country where dictatorship is the end, is what happens on daily basis. Coming back to your question, Mr. Kum, I think that when we come into game like the ping pong game, Both parties are throwing stone on each other. Both parties do not want to come to a compromise. And those that are genuinely seeking for peace or stability to come to the country are being targeted. It simply means that it is a war of an economic gain. Both parties are having gains on both ends. That is why when you see genuine people who come out to tell us that, okay, let us do this, let us help the government, let us bring out, perhaps bring out solutions to better end the Anglophone crisis. At the end of the day, we see how the separatist fighters attack them. We see how the government called them Ambazonians. So I really think that it is very difficult at this moment for a genuine person to arise. Because talking about the Anglophone problem in Cameroon now terms you a taboo. That is why you see at the parliamentaries, nobody has the capacity or the temerity to talk about the Anglophone crisis, because it is a taboo. You cannot talk about these things. They'll call you an Ambazonian. They'll call you an ennemi de la paix. They'll call you a separatist fighter. So it is very difficult for genuine people to arise and say, okay, this is a solution. I can contribute in my own way. Because once you start like showing your head, they'll tell you, mon frère, assieds-toi. This is our business. You have no responsibility or no capacity to bring out solutions. So I think it is very, very difficult for any Cameroonian, genuine person to come out and say, we can help the government, because we are living in a country where it is dictatorship and not a flexible one.
Okay, dictatorship, we also go to, but actually, my focus here is a compromise position. Those who have fronted this posture have always been targeted. They are also blamed. But these are persons who want to identify themselves as neither for this or that, and think that we should find a way out. We've seen what the clergy have done consistently. We've seen the moderator of the PCC, Bishop Kea, and others, but they themselves are still tagged.
Yes,
also blamed.
Just to clap for Akwen. When she says that Cameroon is a dictatorship, after saying all of that, she's going to sleep in her house. Nothing will happen to her. She will come back to the platform the next week and sit talk. It tells you that it's not a dictatorship per se, because when you say dictatorship, one, you give the impression that it's like North Korea, where the president has 99.9% of the votes, where everybody shaves the kind of hairstyle the president has. Everybody goes to the president's tailor to show their addresses. That's not the case in Cameroon. And you can even imagine that you belong to a political party that I don't even understand. Because we cannot have more than one political party, a faction of a political party, and you only belong to one of them. So when they say UPC, it's just like when they say Anglophone crisis, because you say there are two parties. Which parties? Who and who? Who is leading which one?
Your government is leading one.
So you talk about them being killed. So who is killing the government? So we should be very clear. When we come on platforms, we should be clear. When you say there are two parties to the conflict and you are asked to name them and name their leaders, you cannot name the parties clearly. So it is a war against the Cameroonian people. The army is not an army to kill Cameroonians or to protect, to maintain law and order. That's not the role of the army. The role of the army is to maintain the territorial sovereignty of the country. And if the army has been brought in to maintain law and order, then it tells you there's a problem. So when you shout dictatorship up and down, we should be careful. We should find out what is happening. What is happening in the country, the realities on the ground. Does it warrant for what we have? We should be looking for solutions to the problems. If people are in the bushes, the UPC or whichever faction they belong to has not come out with a blueprint that, hey, this is what we can do, and talk our boys out of the bushes, our children out of the bushes. This is what government can do
so what did you do
de-radicalize them. This is what was Kadinatumi in the UPC.
He was not the UPC, he was a neutral body.
No, what we are saying is that
the UPC can do nothing.
What we are saying
and
is
you
that
cannot tell us on a platform that we are having a senator. No. In a legal party, we need people that militate. The person that was nominated by your president in Yaoundé, we do not know him. He doesn't have a base, so you will not tell me he's a militant of this UPC. No.
So Bapo Lipot is not the UPC. Bapo Lipot is board chairman.
He was being assigned by the Minister of Territorial Administration. It doesn't work that way. You cannot come and appoint a secretary of a party. It doesn't work that way. Okay? It is not your country. We have our own party. We have our rules and regulations. You need to respect les statuts du parti. You will not come and you tell me that he's a secretary. No, it doesn't work like that. That's why I call that a dictatorship. That's the regime we are living in.
Is it within your party or within the state?
No, just go on with the argument.
No, what I'm saying is that we have to put the matters and records straight. Government cannot carry all the blame all the time.
You have to carry.
It cannot. You talk about prostitution. Even before Anglophone Crisis, there were prostitutes in Douala, there were prostitutes in Bamenda, there were prostitutes elsewhere.
It has increased.
What we are saying here, how do you de-radicalize? How do you decrease? What effort have we done to look at the problems at the level we should? At our level, for women, how many women can afford to go on a sex strike? Is it dictatorship? Would the state come and beat you to have sex with your husband?
They are prostitutes.
I'm asking if the state
and prostitution
in Liberia,
their own constitution.
In Liberia, women went on sex starvation. They starved their husbands from sex. They did not allow their husbands to have their bodies until the crisis was resolved. How many women can embark on such a thing?
Do you think
is the government, because
something you're
when you
supposed
say
to
that,
hold on?
When you say that this government is dictatorial,
education was deprived from children, nothing happened. So it is not a sex strike that will make anything to happen.
You see, these are people who cannot sacrifice to their country. These are people who cannot sacrifice. Liberia, women did not have sex.
We have a flexible government. No.
And now somebody says that the country is dictatorship, but they cannot deprive themselves of sex. Are you saying that the government is going to beat you to have sex? The dictatorship?
I asked you a question.
We're in the state of law.
Education was being denied for 4 years. Nothing has happened.
By who?
I don't know. You don't ask me.
No, we should
not
not
the cause of the problem.
apportion blames. We know those who
I'm not the cause of the
children should not go to school.
Those are one of the consequences of them not touching the problem of Cameroon, of the Anglophones.
And like Leonard was saying, we have people like Barrister Agobala, for example. That's someone who spent about 8 months in detention in prison because of the Anglophone crisis.
You too, you were in prison.
When he comes out and he says that it is not logical for children to be at home, that is to go to school.
Okay.
The next moment they attack him a black leg.
Okay.
So on whose side is Bala, for example?
I don't know. You ask me.
So when you say there are two parties,
there are two parties.
Who belongs where?
The government and the separatist fighters.
Can you categorize?
I am a neutral body. I analyze situations the way they are around.
Atia, please, can you just answer my question? My problem is that elites are blamed, traditional rulers are blamed, almost everybody is being blamed. So who is the good person here?
That's what I want to find out in which category they are. When somebody says that the crisis has just two parties, and a traditional ruler is begging the population to go and clean a school for children to go back to school, these children are kidnapped, they are maimed. We saw videos from Limbe where children were stripped naked in the classrooms, their books and uniforms set on fire. To which party do these children belong? These children who are suffering, the victims, the innocent civilians who are killed every day, where do they belong if there are only two sides to the crisis? The crisis has so many segments. If you solve this one, you need to solve the other one. So there is need for us as Cameroonians to collaborate. You are not collaborating to go and take guns from the hands of somebody. But at some level, there's a way you can collaborate. You can collaborate to secure your schools, to ensure that schools are conducive for children to go back to those schools. And the communities who know how best to secure their environments. We have communities where the crisis has almost ended. In my 16 in Boya, for example, the situation is not like it was in 2017, 2018. So what has happened in my 16 that cannot happen in some other locality where the crisis is brewing? What has happened in Alo, for example, that cannot happen to Menji for the crisis to end? So that's why I'm saying that we need to go to sector by sector and see how the grievances can be solved. And that is why I believe that the solutions to the crisis in Guneku will not be the same like the solutions to the crisis in Santa, where Akwen comes from. And we cannot generalize that by signing a decree. You talk about signing a decree the last time, Fah, and I was asking you to present to us a blueprint of the decree, maybe some small elements that would be that decree. You did not present. So everybody is being stigmatized. When I will feel pity for the Anglophone elite, because they are trapped between two positions. If you say that things should be done this way, this side attack you that, hey, this man has separatist tendencies. But when you speak in another way, they say this man is CPDM. So even people in the SDF who have proposed solutions to the crisis, they soon become CPDM. That they have paid them. They have been bought over. When the guys in Ivory Coast, they met the former president who was ousted and the current president, when they met, I saw Cameroonians celebrating that, oh, it is good for reconciliation, it's for dialogue. But when Frunzi meets President Biya, for example, the first thing they say is that, hey, how much did they give him? That what was the size of the envelope? So we start thinking of, in Cameroon terms, as bribe We saw the leader of Chad, who is inviting rebel groups to come to dialogue. That's the same scenario we had in 2019, where an open check was given for those who have grievances to come, whether they're in the diaspora or whatever, and they gave them immunity. That if you come, nothing will happen to you. We have people like Padi Asanga who came, even though they had problems, they were quickly released. We have had people in this country, when somebody says that there's no separation of powers, we've had sitting ministers who have stayed in detention in this country for more than 24 hours. The late Minister of Secondary Education, when he was still in office, he was remanded, he was kept in custody for more than 24 hours. And it tells you that the executive arm there's some separation from the judiciary, there's another separation from the legislature of the country. And you cannot just globalize and you say dictatorship. When people present solutions, they become CPDM. When I'm speaking on this platform, I did not say I was from the CPDM. But the first reaction from Fah Elvis and from Akwen is that, oh, you are a regime, you are kangaroo regime in Yaoundé, they are CPDM regime. So whenever anybody presents a solution to the crisis, as long as it is not what other people think it should be, that person becomes a black leg. We have to desist from that tendency.
Yeah, but you are the Undersecretary for Communication for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. There has been this blame game among you guys, the political parties. The CRM thinks that this party is very close to Amber. The other one thinks that this other party is very close to the regime. We've not seen that synergy, that collaboration, that coalition that people were expecting from the political parties themselves, instead of blaming each other, to actually say this is what we want.
Let me get the issues straight. We might be talking on political parties playing their own role, but we have a very minimal role to play.
No, but at least,
for example,
let us see the collaboration.
Yes, I'm coming. For example, we have a very minimal role to play, because the way you present it looks as if the political parties come together, everything will be fine. No. Mr. Leo, Akwen said something here that we must understand. There are two main actors in this conflict. Are
you answering my question? Or
no,
you are saying you have just quit?
I'm coming, Mr. Leo.
Okay.
There are two main actors in this conflict. You have the regime and those who are advocating for separation, or the separatists. Correct. Any other person that comes along the line is gallivanting around these main persons. It is a fact. Now, for political parties, I've said from time to time, like when we were talking about Atia open check, this and that and all the like. No. The open checks were given under what condition? Because if we understand the principles of conflict resolution, it is not literature, it is science that has joining steps that, if Atia would like, if time permits, I could take time to give you joining steps of principles of conflict resolution, which if they are followed to the latter, you will discover that the crisis comes to an end without you going further. But then where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves whereby we are now bringing political parties together. First, the regime has a system, what we call divide and rule. We know what they did in UPC. We know what they have struggled in doing in CRM party. Atia is very versed with that. We know what they have tried in creating satellite opposition parties that work for the regime. And so, if we come on a platform and talk about parties need to come together, I think we're missing the point. Because I said sometime before presidential election, if you go and bring 50 parties from Guatemala, Germany, Holland, Sweden, or whatever, I tell them to come and contest CPDM, with the present quagmire with the electoral laws, you will not win the regime. You will not win that regime. Because they have their constitutional council, they have their mechanisms that work when it comes to selecting those who are working for them. You have territorial administration that assists them in rigging the elections, and all the mechanisms has been carefully put in place. So for parties coming together at this present dispensation, I want to make us understand something. The present crisis now is not a party issue. The present crisis now is not a party issue. Even when CRM tells you no to the war in the Northwest Southwest,
you keep talking about CPDM.
No,
so you say it's not a party issue. You say it's CPDM.
No, it's not a party issue. If you're looking for solution, it's not a party issue.
Yeah, okay.
That's the reality. If we got up and we're talking about no to the war in the Northwest Southwest, the end result was not for us to see it as MRC. It was for us to see as Cameroonians coming together to see that the war should end, because I think those who are dying are other, they belong to political parties, one party or the other. Now we are at a crossroad, Mr. Liu, whereby sometimes, even as media men, we are tempted to leave the object and start chasing the shadow. Now, no amount of congregation of parties in this present kangaroo system can change what Yaoundé does not want to change.
Okay.
For the reason that they have their own agenda.
Yeah, but
and Yaoundé thinks that they should set an agenda for us to follow.
Yeah, but the members of parliament in Yaoundé, if they were to take a decision, because you have also castigated them for not at least discussing it at the National Assembly, but they are representing different political parties.
Yes, that's why I said, Mr.
How do
Leo.
you say the parties?
No, Mr. Leo, this is the issue.
They are there on account of the party.
Mr. Leo.
Yeah.
On the laws governing...
The president of the republic is elected on the...
Mr. Leo,
on the
can I say something?
Yes.
On laws governing the functioning of parliamentarians and senators, the law is clear. The moment you become a senator or a parliamentarian on a particular party, you start functioning as a senator or a parliamentarian for the nation. Mr. Leo, not for a political party. It is because some of us have been misled to think that because we are CPDM, you should work only for the interest of the CPDM. That's why people like creatures are trying to change the game. To make people know that it is not an aspect of CPD, it's an aspect of working for the nation. That's why people will see, some people will see Beramuki maybe like an opposition to the CPDM, whereas that is the original reason why parliamentarians and senators pick up their seats. Unfortunately, the kangaroo system in Yaoundé, coupled with some other songbirds who are clapping for them to propagate such, has made in a way that when you are made a parliamentarian, you begin to see the CPDM and moving ahead. You see but CRM will see but this. But that's not the issue here, Mr. Leo. Because if we were looking at it as a national issue, how do you explain to me, Mr. Leo, that when the crisis started, some group of senators in the south grouped themselves and they were against, and they were even advocating that the head of state should even wipe all those who are advocating, who are causing the disorder in the north and the southwest? Do you see that as a good example? They violated the law. Because in real terms, I had said over and over, the day a parliamentarian in Logon and Shari, a parliamentarian in, let me say, Ngelemunduka, get up and tell you that no, trop c'est trop, no frère de nos eaux souffre beaucoup, il faut que la guerre s'y arrête. That is where we know that we have parliamentarians. As of now, they are kangaroo parliamentarians and senators. I'm very sorry to say that.
Well, that's a kangaroo man. Ndifor Richard, certainly you have been taking some notes and you have been itchy to come in.
Yes, Leonard. Let me start by reacting to my dear sister Akwen, who said the women in Liberia were able to come out because the government in Liberia is more open. To tell her that if she didn't know, Charles Taylor is one of the worst dictators Africa has had, and he was one of the worst tyrant. Everybody feared Charles Taylor. As we speak, we know that Charles Taylor was even in international criminal court for war crimes. We cannot even compare his tyranny to that of Paul Biya if we have to make any kind of comparison. It needed some kind of a lion heart to be able to dare Charles Taylor. I don't think that is something that any of us we are ignorant of. We should stop using excuses to run away from responsibilities. When we have challenges, we should be able to find a way of overcoming those challenges. It is true that we have a tyrannic government that is refusing to accept even peaceful demonstration, but we can always find a way around it if we are determined. And I will just hook that up to what Fah, the kangaroo man, just made mention about there. He talked about the fact that political parties, this is not a political party issue, it's a national issue. Of course, it's a national issue. And political parties are national institutions. Political parties have a responsibility to come in when there is a problem to find a solution. And when you say that they can never solve it, that is an escapist tendency. That is a way of running away from the problem. Now, there is something that we call pressure groups. We can have different pressure groups, mounting pressure. It is true that the government and the separatists are to be held wholly responsible for stifling dialogue. But pressure groups can put pressure on these two groups to be able to come to the table. And this is how it can be done. Let me come back to the kangaroo man to tell him that this can be possible if the MRC stop to be political and try to be scoring political games and think about the interests of the people. If the SDF decide that they don't want to be score political points, and rather they are interested in solving this problem, the SDF and the NRC and the UNDP and whatever political party can come together and decide, and they say, we are going to put pressure on these people to tell them that the interest of the common man is what is at stake here. They can write petitions and submit these petitions to the UN, submit these petitions to embassies in Yaoundé, calling on these embassies to Yaoundé, calling on them to put pressure on both parties to come to the table. That is what these political parties can do. But no, that is not what they are doing. They're interested in scoring political gains or political points. That's why you see the NRC will always say, oh, the SDF is aligned with the CPDF. These people are doing this. That is all to score political points. They are not interested in solving the problem. When Kanto says he does not want to go in for election until the problems in Anglophone region is solved, how does he want it to solve? What concrete step is he taking to ensure that that problem is solved? He himself has never stepped foot in the southwest or the northwest region. How is he aiming to find this problem solved? All of these are political games, and we know them. We should stop playing politics with the lives of people who are dying every day. And we should be able to face the problem and solve the problem concretely. And it's not only these political parties, Leonard. We have churches, we have religious bodies, we have civil society organizations, we have women groups. The other day we saw women going to do Photoshop photo ops in conference rooms in Yaoundé. So they're holding conferences and they're dancing and all of that. There is more those women can do. There's more all these civil society organizations can do to force and pressure this government, pressure the separatists to come to the dialogue table. Sitting out there and saying, oh, it is the responsibility of the government, it's the responsibility of this person, is not going to solve the problem. The problem will only be solved when we start taking concrete action to see that the problem is solved and that they can dialogue. Yes, Leonard.
Juncture, thank you to you, Kangaroo Man. Seemingly, there's a lot we've not yet discussed about. I think we should do a part 2 of this program on Wednesday. Are you going to be there, Tila?
Yes. There.
Kangaroo Man, are you taking the rendezvous? Wednesday? Okay, we are going to pull Ndifor.
Yes.
Yes,
yes, I'm on.
Yes, we take part 2 of this program on Wednesday.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you too.
Yes,
Kangaroo Man.
Thanks very much, and greetings to it's quite interesting that we have been on, and we are still coming back to part 2 because the real versions of the Peter stories must be given here, and not a matter of cajoling the government. It's a kangaroo that has failed. Thank you.
You promised to tell the Bamenda experience. You've not done so today.
Yeah, time has cut us short.
On Wednesday,
I'm bringing the real stories of the things on the ground that if Atia sits here, the grammar will change.
Nadieh, thank you for coming.
I thank all the UPC members who are watching and the youth.
Okay. Also, thank you, Atia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leo. I want to extend greetings to Sister Amuno Valorantine and her husband. They are watching and they wish they could call and participate. To say those who have been criticizing the CPDM, this is the time for you to join. Apparently, the CPDM is reorganizing its basic organs. The Kangaroo Man thinks that...
So that's a militant now. That's a man was refusing that he's not a CPDM militant. Now he's calling people to join. You see, from their fruit, you shall know them.
If you think that government and CPDM are the same thing and you want to join government,
but we cannot differentiate in Cameroon.
Then you should now go and become chairman of the...
If you are better as Sardine, my friend, quietly.
Okay, thank you guys for coming. I'll be joining you shortly. I'll be receiving a team of Cameroonians who will not talk politics. They think that they want to change Cameroon for the better. They have been working and they have a surprise package for Cameroonians. We are going to discover them after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on my Media Prime. Today, Monday, this time around, we are going to be talking about development. We're going to be talking about human capacity building with a team all the way from Bamenda, Northwest Regional Capital. They are members of the Light Outreach Foundation. They are into promoting, empowering our communities for sustainable development. And they are represented in the studio here by the director, Pastor Akusa Nke Thomas. Good evening. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and thank you for having me.
Yes, we're glad to have you all the way from Bamenda. I hope you had a smooth ride down.
Not really.
Okay, we also are in the company of the administrator of the project. We are talking about the Light Outreach Foundation, Mr. Teke Philemon. Yes, who is here with us also? Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. I'm happy to be here today with you. And I want to say we are here with a very rich package for our fellow Cameroonians and our brothers from the Northwest and Southwest regions, more especially to give them a little hand of hope and to making sure that this situation altogether is moving up to maybe a concluding end.
Okay, you want to empower them, eh? Irrespective of the difficulties in which we are living, you still want to give hope to them. We also are in the company of I don't know, the bailiff, no?
Yes, the bailiff.
The bailiff is Maître Didiero Nzage. Yes, bonsoir et bienvenue.
Bonsoir, bonsoir, merci. Merci, bonsoir à tous les téléspectateurs de Media Prime. Je représente l'étude de maître Api Julien, huissier de justice à Douala. Oui, je suis ici pour l'authentification du jeu qui a été lancé par l'association du pasteur David. Donc, merci de m'avoir invité.
Yes, Pastor Akusa Nke Thomas, we are very happy to receive you on Prime Hour. Yes, there is a big project. What is that all about? The Light Outreach Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's an honor again to have me this evening. Light Outreach Foundation is a vision God gave me, and we've been operating since 2014. And our vision is to restore hope to widows, orphans, vulnerable people, fight for the right of the girl child. We've done quite a lot since 2014 that we began our operations in Bamenda, but not limited to Bamenda alone, because we've been all over to the refugee camp in Nigeria, we've been to the West regions, we've been to most of the regions in the country. But what brings us this evening is one of the projects that we launched a few months back, and that's to empower the girl child in Cameroon. Our target is to train 5,000 girls in Cameroon and empower 500 to 100, or 500 to 1,000, sorry. And so that's what brings us here this evening.
Yes, you say you've since 2014, we are 6-7 years.
Yes.
Yes, you say you have succeeded in doing.
What
have you done so far?
Actually, right now we have 100 orphans in school. We're sponsoring in school, and more to that. And we have over 500 widows we are taking care of on daily basis. Some we moved them from the villages which were affected by the crisis, and we've rented places for them in Bamenda. Some we have empowered and they've started up small businesses. As a matter of fact, it's because of the widows that the vision to train these girls came about, girls and women, because we discovered most of the widows we had, sometimes we give them capital and they can't do anything with it. So we noticed that it's important if we can bring up a training on entrepreneurial skills, how to start up a business, how to grow the business, how to be accountable as an entrepreneur, so that you can grow from the little that they give you. We've been to the refugee camp more than 3 times, where we empowered over 1,000 women on basic skills. We offered a borehole in the refugee camp. We gave out food stuffs in the refugee camp. We've been to villages which have been affected by the crisis, helping old people. We've been to Bafut, we've been to Awing, we've been to Widikum, we've been to Bafuchu, we've been to Bello. Notwithstanding the fierceness of the road, we've been to these places.
Yes, but you are assisting many persons, and many of them will be watching you this evening. How do they benefit from your largesse, because seemingly you are reaching many persons here. How do other widows get to you so that you can help them?
Okay, we have a platform where we together sought for possible widows. We also give opportunities for those that can identify widows within their communities and reach us through either our telephone numbers, our website, or via our social media handlers. And we get to meet this widow at their point of need, and then we see what we can do for these widows. And moreover, we are also looking at a plethora where we can build for these widows a hope. As he's rightly said, we are building now a program where aging women can also be empowered. You know that this crisis has really exposed a lot of things within the Northwest region, to be precise, and the Southwest. We are struggling to beef out the female in woman and making sure that they come up with that brevity that women ought to have. So in either of the ways, you can get to us in our numbers. You can get to us via our...
can we have your numbers on the screen? I don't know. Did you give your number to Eli? Eli, can we have their numbers on the screen? Yes. You just you can just jot your number here, and we'll send it to Eli. Just do that. Yes. Go on.
So this time around, I want to say the women folk are very lucky, and because of that, they are the brain and the strength in every family. And if we ought to give them the support and the push they deserve, they are going to support the economy, they are going to support their communities, they are going to brave their families, especially in crisis time.
You've worked with the women, you say you do follow up. Are they coping? Have they showing proof of having learned anything from what you guys are doing with them?
Perfectly well. I can say they are more than 60% functional with the kind of trainings we've been giving them so far. We only regret the fact that 80% of these women are highly illiterate, and we need to go an extra mile to bringing them up to steam, to making them able to interact, to make them able to interact within the societies in which they find themselves.
Okay.
But we are doing our job.
You are doing your job. Now, you are doing something on the role of NGO in promoting empowerment for sustainable community development. Is that what we have been discussing about already?
Yes.
Okay. But this evening you are here for a raffle draw.
Right.
Yes. What is this raffle draw all about, and how do we get where is this notion coming from?
Okay. I think the question maybe you should have asked is how do we get our fundings? Because that's the question a lot of people have asked us. Yes.
That one was reserved for
okay.
For after, yeah.
Thank you. So that's the question a lot of people ask us at the end of when they get the things we've done just for 6 years or so. It's true, we have few partners that we've been working with, but much more an idea. We developed this idea early this year to raise funds for the activities, particularly the project which we just launched last month in Bamenda to train 5,000.
Yeah, which idea are you talking about here?
Okay, that's the raffle we're talking about. And how does it work? We have this partner called Glotelo. Glotelo is an e-commerce platform. They sell things online and all of that. And so they offered us gifts. But we thought, okay, if they give us this gift, we cannot use it. They gave us phones, bikes, televisions, generators. But how do we give out? Sometimes selling the gift will take us a lot of time. So we decided to offer the gifts back to the population with a token of 1,000 francs. You donate to the foundation a token of 1,000 francs, and then you are qualified to in the raffle, which you could be the lucky winner of one of the items per time. So that's the raffle. We call it low fee raffle. So what happens? Glotelo, which is our main partner, offers us this gift. For example, the one we will be doing the draw for today is the phone. And after a month, we will have the TV, then the generator, then a bike. Subsequent months, they have a lot of other items they're ready to give us. So what happens is we have this platform, well-designed platform online, So you come online, you donate 1,000 francs from our website, then you are given access. You have a database that we collect at the end. Then the raffle will be done. That's why we have the bailiff here present, who will follow up everything to be sure that it's well done and that it's not by connection that we pick out the winners. So if you donate 1,000 francs to the foundation, you are entitled to the raffle. So a lucky winner, which definitely may be somebody who needs one of those items, we get home with the item at the end of the day, and then whatever we make from the raffle, we use it for our activities. We either empower a widow, empower a girl child to start up a business. We are either helping an orphan who needs to go to school, or helping a vulnerable person with whatever we get from the raffle.
Okay, yes, because I heard that somebody was going to win a phone today, and subsequently maybe a bike, a generator, and why not a car in the years to come, or a house. I actually wanted us to understand why the raffle is happening today. So you are saying that it is through the 1,000 francs that people are registering to qualify to take part in the raffle.
Right.
That is where you are raising the funds to be able to do what you have done so far for the women on the ground, and that we need to do more.
Right.
Yes. Because after this I was going to ask, but if you are doing things to help the people, where was the money coming from?
Right. Right, because actually we've not had the few partners we've had so far are just family friends.
Okay.
For example, we have one of our main partners in Bamenda, Barrister Mokum Jude. His Dignity Chambers has been a big blessing to us. Then Glotelo came in. Glotelo said, okay, they wouldn't give us money, but since they are business people, they sell these items, they prefer to give us the items. Now, if they give us the items, maybe selling it is going to be a challenge for us. And so we decided that we will give back the items to a vulnerable person or to the population, but in return, they can be part of the activity we are doing by registering 1,000 francs. And also, we brought this system in place so that everybody can be a part of the charity work we are doing. Because there's some people who really want to help, but they don't know who to trust their money in, or how they can pass the money, maybe just the little money they have.
Yeah, so what you are saying in effect is that the Light Outreach Foundation is doing a lot already for the people, especially the vulnerable population. You have been to Boyo Division, you've been to Bui Division, you've been to all these very conflict-stricken areas in the northwest regions, and you have plans of moving down to the southwest regions in the months and days ahead, but that you want people to partner with you, guys. That is the take-home message here. So if you are watching this program, those are the pictures of what they have been doing already for our mothers, the widows, and the girl child who needs assistance. So if you have been thinking of how and where to partner, please, if you get to them using the numbers on your screen, or you could get to me, I'll connect you to them. Just 1,000 francs now. If everybody were to assist with 1,000 francs, you will do wonderful things. But let's get to the business of the day. How is this raffle going to be done? How do we know the winner for tonight?
Okay. We have a tech person who should be working with your tech person now. He has designed a system. It's an online system. Well, so he's going to bring it up, and once you register, before you register, there's a platform where you have to give us your information, your name, your town, where you come from, exactly your region, your town, and then your email. So at the end, once the raffle will be an automatic system, and the winner, it will be clear, every one of us will see the winner, and right in the studio we're going to call the winner, and in 10 days after today, the winner will receive the gift, and definitely it will be on all our platforms.
So this is how the program is going to work, because it is, if you look at, take the example from a shuffling cart. So it's going to shuffle. If there are 1,000 people, it's going to shuffle 1,000 times within a short space. If there are 10 people, it's going to shuffle 10 times. So much so that it shuffles very well, and then it's a horizontal shuffle, so that the system now is going to select one person locally, and then that one person, the number, the identity number is going to pop out, and eventually the name, and then we are going to call the name. That person becomes the winner, and we are going to give the person the phone. No matter where you are in Cameroon, be it from the far north, being down south, being in the west or the east, no matter where you are, maximum is 10 days. We are going to have your phone or your item delivered to your doorstep.
Okay, so is he ready? Can we?
Yes, I think the third person should be ready now.
Eli, are we ready? Can we have the winner for this first raffle draw? Yeah. Okay, that is the phone.
Right, that's the phone.
That the lucky person is going to take home this evening. A smartphone. Okay. So. Is that the process?
Yes.
That's the process. It has shuffled completely.
Okay.
And they are selecting the winner.
Okay, so the process of the selection process is
The process is done.
okay.
And now they're generating the details. So that's the lucky winner
Okay, that's the winner of
of the phone.
the phone.
From Michael Tamnjong.
Yes.
Okay,
And so you
congratulations.
can see the ID number 40, and our tech person is going to send us the name, the number of the person, and right here from the studio we'll call him.
We'll call him.
Okay, so that is the winner of the raffle draw. He contributed 1,000 francs, and today,
more.
yeah, and today he's taking home a smartphone, not just any type of a smartphone.
Not just
a
any
good
type
one,
of smartphone. There will be Note 9, and he's luckily from the Northwest region, and we are going to give him a call right away to maybe inform him of the win already.
Okay, so that is the winner. Anybody who is watching us from Bomenda this evening, if you know Mr. Taniform, can I have the name again? If you know Mr. Taniform Michael Tamnjong, just let him know that he is the winner of the raffle draw that has been done out here on Prime on My Media Prime this Monday evening by the guys of the Light Outreach Foundation. Seemingly his number is available. He's going to be called to be informed that he is a winner, but that could be done after the program now because we're out of time.
We would have just loved to do it here.
Okay.
Why they are fetching the number? You made reference to the role of NGOs to the
empowerment, in promoting empowerment for sustainable
community. Yeah. We want to say
the number is right. Okay.
Just fly while you're coming out.
Okay.
So we want to say empowering women has been a long, empowering communities for sustainability has been a long job so far, and has been a daunting task. And we want to say NGOs have a lot in this regard, and because of that, they develop communities in reference to microfinancing, in reference to capacity building, and self-sufficiency and self-reliance.
Okay, we have to end the program at this juncture. The number, can I have the number of the winner again, so that I'm sure he's receiving calls already. Yes, that he has won the phone. If you think that you want to partner with the guys of the Outreach Foundation, the Light Outreach Foundation, they are into empowerment out there. You can, okay.
Hello, good evening, sir. Hello. Hello.
Okay. Okay, the lines are not clear. What I was saying is that if you are out there watching the program and you think you want to partner with them, just call them using that number, or you could get to me. I will connect you to them. When is the next raffle draw coming up?
End of September, and that will be a TV and another phone.
Okay, a TV and another phone.
Yes, a flat smart TV and another phone.
I would definitely register for this one. Yes.
Yes, no, we want to say thank you for this program, and we want to thank the entire community and the Cameroon population at large for the support they have been giving us. We want to say from here we are moving to the southwest, where we are going to have a training next month to train more than 500 girls within the Southwest community, and within which we want to empower 200. So we are calling on the Southwest population to be vigilant. Very soon in this same media, we are going to set up invitations for girls and vulnerable persons and even minute communities to join us for that training. So we want to say thank you, Mr. Leo. Okay. Thank you for your team, and then thank you to the entire population for the continued support you have been giving us. We want to pray that you keep joining us in this mission, so that we push our communities and develop them in such a way that sustainability will not be far from us. Thank you.
Okay, Daisy is writing from Kumba, says, good evening, Mr. Leo and the Light Outreach team, who is considered a widow. Is there anything like old and young widow? What kind of widow stands a better chance for gaining from your foundation?
Okay, when we are talking about a widow here, we are talking about we are talking about a lady that was married and then lost the spouse and is in dread condition for help. Okay. So those kind of persons are people we do assist.
Okay. Someone just wrote to me, he works at the Bamenda 3 Council, Mr. Tamfo Michael. So yes, this is Madame Jacqueline writing from Bamenda, says, I know the person he works with the Bamenda 3 Council. Mr. Ndifor Michael Tamnjong is the winner of the raffle draw for this evening. Next month, September, we are going to have another one, and it's going to be a phone plus a TV set. And you guys are planning for a training seminar in the Southwest region in Boya, precisely in the days ahead. We are going to be communicating you information on this program subsequently. Merci d'être passé par ici.
Merci. Je voulais attester ici devant le téléspectateur que le gagnant s'appelle bien Monsieur Ndifor Michael. Oui.
Et qu'il va recevoir
son lot. Oui. Oui, il va bien recevoir son lot entre mes mains particulièrement.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. I want to say thank you for your hospitality and for the good work you've been doing for the community. We have been seeing the work. I want to pray that you keep up with it, and so that we are going to get the best of information out there.
Okay. Thank you to Pastor for coming.
Mr. Leo, thank you very much, and thank you for being a partner of Light Irish Foundation. And thank you for the great support.
Okay, we are going to be soliciting for you guys to join. We need to change our world. We want to thank everybody who took part in today's edition of the program, the production team, Eli and Desmond, Tebon Christian, and the guys at the broadcasting, Noel and Bertrand, and everybody, and all of you who took time off to send text messages. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.